Hi, I'm Clint Wright. I'm the Broadcast Studio Managing Engineer for Communication Studies here at Longwood University, and I'm going to be talking about the Canon 5D Mark IV DSLR camera, specifically shooting video on it. As with any tutorial that I put out there, I've got to give the disclaimer that this is targeted at our students and how we expect them to use the camera. That being said, let's get started. First thing you want to do is go ahead and attach a lens to the camera. Pop this cover off here. Pop the cover off your lens. Red dot on the lens. Corresponding red dot on the camera body. Go ahead and line those dots up and turn to lock into place. Once you've got a lens on your camera, the next thing you want to do is turn it on. On this side of the camera here, there's a battery door. Take your battery, slide it in until it clicks into place, close the door. Power switch is located on the back of the camera right here. Go ahead and turn that to the on position. Once your camera is on, we're ready to start formatting it to shoot. We'll start with the card. Go ahead and take your SD card, open up the panel on the side of the camera here. There's two slots, one for a CF card, one for an SD card. Take the card, slide it in with the lettering facing you, and close the lid. Once your card is in place, we'll go ahead and get things formatted. To do that, hit the menu button. This is a touchscreen menu. Go ahead and select that little wrench icon. Select Format Card. Now, depending on whether you're using a CF card or an SD card is going to influence which slot is highlighted here. I put an SD card in so you see slot 2. Go ahead and select slot 2. And then down at the bottom, hit OK. As with any card, it is important to note that formatting it will delete everything currently on the card. Back it up before you do this. Once your card is formatted, go ahead and select that little camera icon. We're going to go to the fourth page of that menu and get our record quality set. You want to make sure that your record quality matches these settings. Much like the JVC 4K camera or the XF300 that we also use, this is not the best this camera can do. It's just the most efficient for the kind of cards we use and integrating it into our system. Once you've got your settings in place, go ahead and back out of that menu and we'll start getting set up to record. As with any shoot, one of the first things you're going to want to do is white balance your camera. Now, it's a little more complicated to do with this camera than it is with some others, but it's still an integral part that you cannot skip. So the first thing you want to do to white balance this camera is make sure you have a white card in the location that you're planning on shooting. Once your card is in place, go ahead and switch this camera to its picture mode, or still. And with that white filling the whole frame, go ahead and take a picture of that white. From there, hit the menu button, and we're going to go to the second page of that camera icon, and you'll see two things. You'll see white balance and custom white balance. Where it says white balance, make sure that you have it set to custom, and then select custom white balance, and you'll see the picture that you just took is in the viewfinder. Go ahead and hit set. It'll ask you if you want to use this data. OK. And so now the camera is calibrated to that version of white. Remember, this is very important because this is how the camera decides what colors are supposed to look like. Once you've got your white balance in place, go ahead and switch back to video mode. And there's a couple of other things you'll want to adjust to make sure your camera is seeing things appropriately. The first of them is your f-stop. To adjust your f-stop, there's a wheel on the back of the camera that you turn clockwise to let less light in, counterclockwise to let more light in. Personally, for me, I've found that having the f-stop as open as I can get it is going to be the best option because we're going to use our shutter speed and our ISO to adjust the light. That being said, looking at our shutter speed, how we adjust that is there's a wheel on top of the camera. Turning it to your right will let less light in. Turning it to your left will let more light in. Generally speaking, with this camera, I like to start with my shutter speed at 1/30th of a second and then go up from there. It's not a hard rule, it's just where I like to start. Along with your shutter speed, you also have your ISO. Now, to adjust your ISO, it's a little harder. You have to actually hit a button first. And then that same wheel that you use to adjust your shutter speed will adjust your ISO, which is just another way of letting more or less light into the camera. This is about the only thing on this camera that I would recommend leaving in auto mode. It's really effective in its auto function. but you can adjust it if you need to. Once you've got all that set up, we'll talk about sound for just a minute here. Best advice I can give you for recording audio with this camera is don't use a secondary recorder. It's just going to be so much easier and so much better for you. But that's a whole different video, so I'm going to show you how to go ahead and plug a microphone into this camera. You have to make sure that your mic has an 1/8" jack as opposed to a normal XLR plug, and this is just because an XLR plug on a camera this size would be ineffective. So first thing you do is take your receiver, slide it into your hot shoe, and screw that down. Then on the side of the camera here, there's a little flap that opens up, and there's a little mic input there. Go ahead and plug your microphone in. Take the body pack of your mic, and you would take this little microphone right here. I'm already wearing one, but that'd be about the appropriate placement, that, you know, about a hand-width dollar bill down from your mouth. And then from there, you hit the menu button. Go back to your camera icon here, hit the 4th page, sound recording. Make sure that your sound recording is in manual mode. It will automatically detect your microphone here, and then you adjust your levels by selecting that record level and moving it up or down. From here, we're basically ready to start shooting. So go ahead and get your talent in location. I've got the lovely Lord Vader behind the desk here, and I'm going to go ahead and get my shot kind of framed up. We do have variable zoom lenses for this camera, so you kind of get in the location you want to be, and then you zoom in or out to get your actual shot you want. To focus the camera, go ahead and zoom all the way in on your talent. And then on the body of the camera, there's a magnifying lens. Go ahead and hit that to get your expanded focus so you can get in just as tight as you can possibly get. And then go ahead and focus it up so it's all nice and clear. Hit that expanded focus again to go back out, and then zoom back out to where you want to be for your shot. To start recording, simply hit the start-stop button on the back of the camera, and to stop, hit it again. Like a lot of things, this camera is actually pretty simple to use, but it does take a lot of practice to really get used to it. So, you know, check one out, mess around with it. We'll see what you shoot.